a personal judicial interpretation philosophy apart from what
You're going to be on the United States Court of Appeals if you're confirmed, and you don't have a judicial philosophy about how the United States Constitution should be interpreted?
Hey, what's up, everyone? You're watching the Citizens Broadcast, the place where I cut through the noise and serve up the real moments from Washington that actually matter. Today, I'm breaking down a Senate Judiciary Committee face-off that's got everyone talking. Senator Kennedy grilling Judicial Nominee Eunice Lee. And this wasn't just a polite quanda, this felt like a cross-examination in a courtroom. Here's the core of it. Senator Kennedy asks, should the Constitution be read exactly the way the founders understood it? He's throwing a fastball down the middle. But Eunice Lee? She sidesteps, says she'll follow precedent. Kennedy? Not buying it. He wants her actual philosophy, not a canned answer. That's when it gets spicy. Kennedy even suggests Lee's been coached by the White House like every nominee before her. He's basically saying, if you're up for a lifetime seat, you owe us, and the country, transparency. Your legal philosophy isn't just academic, it shapes real lives. Finally, Lee lets slip that sometimes, yes, original meaning matters. Cites the Heller case, big Second Amendment deal. But then she pivots for cruel and unusual punishment. She says judges can use modern standards. Wait, so which is it? Kennedy pushes, but she won't draw a line. Clock's ticking down. Kennedy ends with a gut punch. If you can't tell me how you'd interpret the Constitution, I can't vote for you. And honestly, he's got a point. These are lifetime appointments. We deserve straight answers.
Ms. Lee, congratulations. Do you think the United States Constitution should be interpreted according to how people understood it at the time it was adopted?
Thank you for the question, Senator. With regard to the interpretation of the Constitution, should I be confirmed as a circuit judge, I'll be bound by Supreme Court and Second Circuit precedent.
I know that, and I'm not going to ask either of you. I know you've been coached. The Trump White House coached the Republicans when they were nominated to always carefully say you're going to follow Supreme Court precedent. I stipulate that. I'm asking your opinion, your judicial philosophy, not how you're going to rule on a case. So let me rephrase it. Do you think the United States Constitution should be interpreted according to how people understood it at the time it was adopted?
Thank you, Senator. I don't have a personal judicial interpretation philosophy apart from what
you're going to be on the United States Court of Appeals if you're confirmed, and you don't have a judicial philosophy about how the United States Constitution should be interpreted?
Well, Senator, in terms of how it would be interpreted, I'm going to be bound by how others have said the circuits, the judges interpret it. And so...
Yeah, but we don't decide cases using algorithms and just take all the United States Supreme Court cases and put them in. And they haven't addressed every issue. Very few cases get to the United States Supreme Court. Let me ask it again. Do you think the United States Constitution should be interpreted according to the way that people understood it at the time it was adopted? And if you don't, that's cool. Some don't. Many don't. How do you think it should be interpreted? It's a very simple question for a Court of Appeal nominee.
Well, thank you, Senator. I think the question actually is a little more complicated. The Supreme Court has...
No, it's not. It's about as basic as you can get. It's Con Law 101. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but and I know both, the thing now, but with all presidents, Republican and Democrat, is to coach the nominees. But you're going to be on the Court of Appeal at confirmed, and I'm asking you, how do you interpret the Constitution?
I'm sorry.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, Senator. No, I think certainly the interpretation of the Constitution has to start with the text, and to the extent that that's not, to the extent that that's unambiguous, that's what we work with. But in terms of whether or not, when there's lack of clarity and there's a need to look to something else, I do think that in fact precedent gives us a lot of examples.
Let me try it again. The problem may be mine. The United States Constitution Do you think it should be interpreted according to the way that people understood it at the time it was adopted, or another way?
I think there are many circumstances where it should be interpreted according to what people thought at the time it was adopted.
When?
Well, for instance, in the case of Heller, the Supreme Court applied original meaning to determine the scope of the Second Amendment right. And so
When shouldn't we apply original meaning?
I think when there are Supreme Court precedents that apply something, have applied something
On
other
an
than that,
original question.
I'm sorry.
When on a situation or a right or a privilege that, and I'm sorry to have to interrupt you, but we have so little time. Under what circumstances do we not interpret the Constitution according to the way that people understood it at the time it was adopted?
There are circumstances where the Supreme Court has not interpreted the Constitution explicitly in that fashion. And so I would always,
Give me an example. What example are you thinking about?
Well, there are times in the context of judging what is cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment, where the Supreme Court has looked to
That's a good example.
prevailing norms in terms of interpreting.
Let me I got 15 seconds left. I'm sorry. Let me try it again. You get a constitutional case. There's no precedent on it. So you've got to interpret the Constitution. And I think I understand your testimony to be that sometimes we interpret the Constitution according to the way that people understood it at the time the Constitution was adopted, and sometimes we don't. How are you going to proceed? How are you going to decide which of those philosophies you're going to use on a particular case?
Thank you, Senator.
If there's no precedent.
I think that when there is not, I think the circumstances where there's not going to be either controlling or at the least instructive precedent from the Supreme Court or from the Second Circuit, I think is fairly rare. And so I can't say in the abstract, well, if this is the philosophy that I would apply, because again, I'd be driven by what the precedent says. And so I can't give you a specific judicial philosophy.
Okay. I'm way over. Listen, I'm going to send you both a letter. I can't vote for you if I don't know, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you, Ms. Ross. I can't vote for you if I don't know what approach you're going to use to interpret the United States Constitution. And I don't believe for a second you both haven't thought about it. You couldn't have gotten through law school without thinking about it. So I need to know what you think about it. Okay? Thank you for your time. And I'm sorry I had to interrupt.
No.
The originalists or adapt to modern times? And do you think nominees who dodge the basics should get confirmed? Drop your thoughts below. Hit like, smash, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Stay sharp, stay informed, and above all, stay free.